Welcome to the Keeping IT Real podcast. This podcast features honest and transparent conversations about what it takes to manage corporate technology and expenses today. Each episode, listen to true and personal stories from IT professionals who are working hard to make sure their business stays connected and competitive. I'm your host, Jethro Castillo, and let's meet our next guest.
Today, I am joined by Geetha Kommepalli, a VP of Digital and IT and a global technology leader. Geetha has over 20 years of global technology leadership and has used that experience to drive business growth, emphasizing the partnership between IT and business, as well as implementing innovative digital strategies and transformation. She is also a member of the Forbes Technology Council, Harvard Business Review Council, the CIO Professional Network Council, and the MIT CIO community. Geetha, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks for this wonderful invitation. I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited to talk about my journey in IT.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So let's jump right into it. How did you get started in IT exactly?
Well, I started my education, my graduation, bachelor's, I would say, in computer applications back in 1999. It was the very early stages of IT, I believe, not having this level of boom. So it was very exciting to learn the initial C, C++, Oracle, Java, and all those basic things. And I'm a math lover, so obviously I find it very interesting, the way it is transforming when you're making some web pages, when you're writing some code on the C, C++, and all those things. It's excited me. And after my graduation, yes, the very first job I got is IT and with a non-profit organization. That's in India. So I'm an Indian born Canadian citizen living in US now. So
all over.
I have seen a lot of world. Yes. So having said that, it was a very exciting journey when I went into an organization where I'm seeing what a technology could do to the organization when people are managing their documents, their financials, everything on the Excel sheets, Word, all those things, the basic Microsoft, and then where we are transforming into a platform, an application with a front end and back end, which was an amazing thing to do. I was managing as an IT partner over there from the client end. So that's how my IT journey has started 23 years back. I never look back. It's been amazing to go through a number of roles where I started as a program associate, then I became a developer. From there, I picked up into the consulting roles where I worked for Deloitte for 8 years. I proudly see that journey where I had an opportunity to meet global companies, where I had an opportunity to work for various clients across the industries. A lot of learning where I had a lot of hats as a developer, as a programmer, as a project lead, team lead. That's where I evolved as a leader from there. So after I left my consulting career, 10 years of consulting career, I moved on to the leadership roles. I worked for a banking industry. Then I worked for I got into manufacturing industries, highly regulated manufacturing industries where they manufacture isotopes and all that. So last 5 years, I'm heavily involved into mergers and acquisitions, which is a very exciting thing for me these days. A lot of potential because nowadays heavy mergers and acquisitions been happening. So after that, the IT integration is becoming such a big challenge for the business to continue with a lot of business disruption and all that. So last 5 years, I've been managing multi-billion dollars mergers and acquisitions, post-integration successfully. I have a proven track record successfully making them the meaningful consolidations where the optimizations has been a key and with no business disruptions. It's been amazing, I would say. I'm continuing that.
I'm laughing because I think it's just so awesome to hear. One, just an incredible career thus far. I mean, there's nothing there that falls short of incredible. But to still hear the genuine excitement and love that you have for it is, I think, the better part of it. I think it's one thing to have all of the success, but another thing to just be like, I'm grateful and excited. The eagerness to still learn is is awesome to hear. On that note, you said you were a math lover and you started first programming. Obviously you shift, right? As the career goes on, you shift into consulting and you probably did less and less of that. And then when you're in a leadership role, you might even do less and less of that. I guess it is a natural assumption that that's the route someone would go if they were successful, but you don't have to go from doing it to leadership, especially because it leads to different problems and you do different things. Was that a natural transition for you to go from the tactical, doing the math, doing the coding, to thinking about, you were thinking about problems in terms of equations and thinking of it in terms of how do I solve this specific development problem? And now it's solving business problems using technology. Was that a natural transition? Was it hard to say goodbye? Talk about sort of the shift in your role and what your responsibilities were.
That's a very good question. I remember while you're asking those questions, I recently interviewing a candidate, one of the role in my team. She asked me, she got excited about, reading my LinkedIn profile. She was asking me, I have this double-digit number of experience, and I would like to get into leadership roles. I saw your career journey. It's amazing. So can you give me some tips? But that's where I was like, oh my goodness, that's very interesting question. Nowadays, many college grads might be having, where they have a great aspiration to see themselves in the leadership roles down the lane. So for me, yes, it's a natural transition. Fortunately, it has happened to me, I would say. I do have big dreams because each and everything I do, doesn't matter whether it's a programming, whether it's a project management, whether it's a teaching to other peer or a junior, doesn't matter for me. I enjoy it thoroughly. I just enjoy, as I enjoy my favorite dish, a food, an ice cream, or anything, a sandwich. So I enjoy that. Each and everything I do, I thoroughly involve wholeheartedly in it. I believe that's my secret source of my success. If I don't like something, I don't think I would have ever made to up to this point. So I thoroughly involve it, and I'm a quick learner. That's another thing. I really don't worry about somebody has to sit and teach me even early in my career. If I find it something interesting, let me see how can I learn it better? How can I implement it in somewhere? So I find every opportunity to learn something new. I'm not afraid of anything new. And, I never think of what if I fail. I always say, let me give it a try. It's okay. Something didn't go as planned. I may learn the lesson. That's my take on that. So that's what I said. Like, you just have to enjoy. It's not about, there is a misconception saying that there is a number of years experience doesn't make you a leader. So what value you are adding in every role, you have to live up to the standards. You have to give the best out of the best, I would say. And everything you do, doesn't matter what it is. So we always look for outcome before we start the work. That's where many people struggle to reach to the point. Don't look for the outcome. Don't worry about the outcome. Just do the best. Give your best. Learn. It's okay. And reach out to people. Seek for help. Don't be afraid to say no. That's where your openness to learn and where you can, the possibilities opens up. Takes up every opportunity that comes to you. Doesn't matter whether you know it or not. Nobody knows everything in the beginning. It's a journey of lifelong learning, right? So that's what I enjoy. I take an opportunity to spend some time reading, discussing with my little kid. I have 11 years old boy. He talks to me a lot about what I do at my work. I try to talk to him. He gives me some good ideas too sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's how, you never know who will teach you what, right? So that's how I believe in. You have to live in it. You have to enjoy it. It's not that you're doing for your paycheck to pay the bills. It's all about your love towards it, your passion towards it. That's where you can see the success. That's what I was asking. I was telling her, you just have to enjoy your work and show your passion towards it. The guidance comes to you. You don't need to worry about the titles. Don't look at the title and try to go race for it. You just have to look for what I'm benefiting here, what value I'm adding here.
I forgot that we were on a podcast. I was like, this is the greatest, one of the greatest. You came at the right time for me personally in my life. I think that's something I needed to hear too. So, your whole passion and love for teaching as well shows. So I just wanted to say that too. And also thank you personally for saying that, because I needed that reminder. So in that sense, I'm just like the woman who asked you that initial question. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Do you said that was your secret sauce, and I was about to say that that's your superpower. And you mentioned you read, and you also, teach your kid asks you a lot of questions. When you find something that interests you, what do you do to go out and learn it? Because you said you don't necessarily need just a teacher. You'll go out and proactively do it. So what are your resources? Where do you go out and look for ways to get better at the thing that you don't know that much about yet?
I look for every possible channel that maybe I have, because nowadays I'm part of multiple channels where it's easy for me to talk to my peers and the different organizations and all, easy to get the access. But prior to this, 20 years back, we don't have this level of material, this level of accessibility. That's where we were finding, go to the library, figure it out, talk to somebody, hey, I'm looking for this information. Can you help me? Where can I find it? So just ask, don't be afraid. It's okay. It may be a dumb question. That's what I say. Sometimes we may sound dumb. It's okay. It's not going to hurt you. But unless you ask, nobody can help you. So that's where I just go and reach to the people. Doesn't matter whether I know them very well or not. All I need is my information. And I'll ask them could help me to figure out somebody who can help me out there. So so the another one is, initially I struggled with the language, because my language is not English. I'm from India. I'm from Telugu, from South India. So it took some time until my high school. I was studying in my local language. So I only got into English medium when I moved into college. That's where it took some time for me, but I was like, it's okay. I was never been afraid. I take everything that comes on to me as a challenge. Okay, let me how I can conquer it, how I can turn it as an opportunity. I do remember there are days where I was studying my high school. Here we call it as a high school. In India, we call it as inter. So in my 10 plus, I would say those 2 years, every day I used to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning, go to upstairs, Telugu medium book and English medium book, and read this and this together and understand, so that I need some extra time, right? So I cannot find it as a reason. That's what I say to my kid. This is how I used to, it took 3 months for me to find the balance between the language, but I did it. If I'm able to do it, you can do it, anything. So whichever you find it's difficult, you can do it, my dear, all your willingness. The moment you say to your brain, I know it's tough for me, it is tough. The moment you say, I can do it, you can do it. That's it.
This is so cool. This is such a cool conversation. I'm having so much fun. I'm learning so much. This is so cool. Or I guess reminding myself of the things that are important. Learning is good, and lifelong learning, and always being curious, right? I love how you said, it doesn't matter if I know them or not. I'm curious and I want to get my answers. On the topic of learning still, IT and tech, right? It's different now than it was 20 years ago, different than it was 5 years ago. With generative AI, it's almost different than it was like yesterday, it feels like. So kind of with everything going on, with all of your knowledge since, let's say 1999, what about IT and tech are you most excited about now? And also, what are you kind of most concerned about and want to stay on top of to make sure you don't, fall victim to something bad, let's say?
That's a very good question. So relevant to current situation in the industry. I would say, yeah, no doubt about it. AI and machine learning, the potential it has, I find it so exciting that every day we've been leveraging AI for a variety of things at work, in our day-to-day life too, I would say, including Alexa. So yeah, it's very exciting how you can leverage. At the same time, what you have to be careful of, too much of dependency on it in a personal life. I'm more concerned about my son. My son comes and says, well, can you help me with this in ChatGPT? I said, no, this is something you have to figure it out on your own. So I'm more concerned about, yes, we do have AI, we do have machine learning, we can do a lot at the same time. We have to be more responsible. And we have a great AI, either you can use it as a great tool, or people can turn it as a weapon also sometimes. So you have to be very careful how you are leveraging AI, how responsible you are because of the sensitivity of data around it. And nowadays, a lot of security issues that you need to make sure, especially when you are in a role where you are using, where you have a global presence, and you have to be more careful about the regulations, securities. Are you aware of, first of all, how to use it? It's not about any tool, right? We have a user manual. It's not that we just go and purchase it and bring it out and use it. You have to make sure you read the user manual. The same way I would recommend know what to do's versus what you shouldn't do, what you have to be careful of. At the same time, when you don't know something, reaching out to the right channel for help. Hey, is this something the right way to use? Is this posing any risks and all that? So yeah, if everything comes like something, it has more potential, it has its own risks. So that doesn't mean we have to compromise on it. We have to balance it out between the benefits versus risk and how you are balancing and managing, putting the right guardrails in place, putting the right governance and securities in place, and all those things.
On that note, this is something about IT that I find very interesting is that sometimes IT can be considered the blocker of the organization where they're locking down everything, yada, yada, yada. But they're also now the part of the organization that can innovate the entire company because of how technology has evolved. And so, you talk about regulation and coming up with compliance for AI. In your organization or just something you've noticed in general, how do you find the balance? Because we've talked about the balance with innovation and stability and security. How do you not stifle innovation, but also how do you make sure that you don't lose the integrity and the availability of the data that you have?
Wonderful. So when it comes to that, yes, as you rightly said, IT was seen as quite a back end, and also it was not seen as IT is part of the business. It was just a supporting kind of. But these days, things are changing. At least I have seen in my current firm and my prior firm, IT is not seen at least as just the back end office. It's more seen as a business partner. Even IT leaders are part of the business meetings where we are doing we are not just doing just taking the order saying, okay, what business wants and let me see how I can accommodate. It's not about that. IT is being partner, a true IT business partnership. That's where you can be, where you have an option to do the innovation, where you have an option to leverage IT for innovation. In fact, what value, how IT can be leveraged rather than just saying, okay, we are just having some age-old systems. We need to do some transactions, some financial transactions, do some reporting. It's not about that. It's more than that. The IT leaders are part of directly reporting to CEOs nowadays. I'm sure pretty soon, IT leaders will be part of the board members because there is a need for it. I'm sure many of the fintech firms are already doing it, but that will be coming out very soon because that's where the IT role is. There is a lack of IT role in the boards. That's where we've been seeing all the struggle we are having. It could be many things. It could be many things. So recent, and I think 1 year back, there was an airlines which had a huge outage. Then they come up with saying that we are investing $2 billion to do our IT modernization. They could have done it with $200 million if they would have done at the right time, in the right way. That's what I always say in my article, one of the articles I published in LinkedIn. I said the success formula for any kind of thing is doing the right thing at the right time in the right way. These three are, you cannot say do one thing. There is no R in it. There is an and in it. You must do them parallelly. If you don't do right thing at the right time in the right way, there is no way you'll achieve the success. So I have attended a executive leadership program with MIT. The one of the great things I heard is it's very much correlated to my thought process is cutting corners. So many organizations in the projects, we always find it how cutting corners is the easiest way, but that's where we all gonna make the big disruptions. There were huge examples that the professor was giving. I find it, oh my goodness. So that's where maybe this is where the IT leaders has to go back to the boards and the investor committees and the business executive leadership to say how important it is to make sure we do a thorough analysis. We do understand it's not that, oh, it's okay. We don't need to upgrade this particular the infrastructure or the systems. We are okay. It's all about maintenance. If you don't maintain any vehicle in the right way, it gonna burst one day. So don't wait until the volcano burst. You just have to invest timely and make sure we are doing the right things. We are making sure right security measures. We are doing the right investment on the infrastructure, applications, everything in IT and an organization. Without that, there is no way the organization will be able to cope up with their business needs and the scaling need to sustain and success. It's not just the sustenance is also equally important to my knowledge. So that's where I keep seeing many organizations. I was reading some Forbes article. I was reading some industry expertise, Gartner's research and all. Why do that 70% of the digital transformations are not able to success, not able to meet their ROI? Because of we are not doing right things at the right time in the right way. That's it. That's such a simple thing. I understand we always believe where we can cut the cost, but you need to understand that cost now where you have to spend 100K might bubble up to 10 million. You never know.
Yeah. It's the idea of, if you're cheap now, that might lead to a lot of more expensive costs later. It's in consumer behavior too, right? If I'm buying a cheap shirt, I'm going to have to buy a cheap shirt every single time because it won't last as long rather than buying one expensive shirt that lasts for a really long time. So I'm not cutting any corners in the short term. I might be losing more money in the short term, but over the long term, I'm saving money. And so it's that idea of you have to plan ahead. You got to move slow to move fast, right? Move fast and effectively so you never have to move slow later on in the future. And so it's that balance. I love how you switch the balance of innovation and security is pretty much the balance between planning and execution. And you want a good balance of planning so you execute properly so that you don't have to do half-hearted executions, for sure.
Sure. We have to be more proactive, I would say, rather than reactive.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's a human tendency majority of the time to be reactive. That's the problem.
The thing is, right place, right thing, right place, right time. No, wait, right thing, right time.
Right way.
Right way. The thing is that we can't foresee the future perfectly, right? And so
yes.
there are things that we can't foresee. And so I kind of wanted your take on that. We can only be as prepared as we can be. There will always be things that we don't foresee. How do you account for the variables that are invisible that might come up? How do you allow for the flexibility to make sure that the plan still succeeds despite roadblocks that come up that you don't expect?
Well, that's how life is, right? It doesn't matter whether it's a business or a life. You cannot predict. I mean, we may predict something, and it may not happen the same way. All your openness and how agile you are and how you are able to understand it so that you have your risk analysis is in place and you are able to put together your risk mitigation plan in place so that making sure we are involving the right stakeholders to understand the changes that's been coming in. That's where I would always say IT is not sitting as a back office. You establish a business partnership. So you need to understand what are the changes that are coming in. Is an organization acquiring different organization? Are we going with a different direction in the business model? Is there any changes coming in? That's where I always propose whenever I go. Last 5 years, I'm always proposing yes, we need to have a weekly collaboration calls with the key business stakeholders. I always keep a placeholder weekly cadence with my key business stakeholders to understand what are the things going on. Is there any challenges we've been facing in the business? Do we have any scaling opportunities? Like, is there any acquisitions that may be happen? Anything it could be, so that I can go back and prepare myself and my team. What are the upcoming things that are coming in? It may not happen in a month or so. It may happen 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line. But at least knowing that and preparing. And also, as I'm part of different channels now, Forbes, Gartner, MIT, CIO communities and all, I've been attending a lot of seminars, a lot of conferences, been part of conversations and all. It helps me to connect with my peers in the organizations to understand, hey, if there is a situation like this, how you guys are handling it. So it's easy to understand how the industry things been happening, how we can take advantage of others been doing. You don't need to do again the same experiment and learn from your mistakes. You can also learn from others' mistakes and the lessons from others. I feel which is wise for us. So that's where I always go back to my peers and ask, I would say, okay, if there is something happening. So what's happening in your organization? How you are handling it? So that it's a exchange of information, connect, collaborate, and contribute. That helps a lot to learn and also to overcome some of the things and whatnot. So that's the best way we can do. There is whatever we don't know, but at least reaching out to people and asking for help, figuring out the right way rather than getting panicking. That helps.
Right. It's the idea. You get as much information as you possibly can get, and you make a plan out of that information. And if something was outside of your information and it comes up, at least you can say with what you had and what you knew, you did the best that you could. And the next time this happens, I know that mistake and I won't make that mistake again. Is there a specific IT project that you're most proud of? Or maybe not one, but can you think of one that was successful, that you're proud of, that really provided impact to the organization?
Sure. So I have my recent organization where we are doing a major merger and acquisition consolidation. So we would like to do it in a way that, I would like to leverage all my lessons learned to make sure we are having a multi-million-dollar savings over there for every year. So we were able to plan in a right way, prioritizing the things, how we can bring the project go live at the right time with the less disruption, knowing the risks involved, what we can do to get this consolidation versus what we can do after the post integration. So that's how we can manage well with the risks involved, knowing that, as I said, innovation versus risk. I mean, how you balance it out, stability versus innovation. So we did a thorough cost benefit analysis, and then we were involved the right stakeholder engagement, proper communication in place, understanding the needs very well. So we are bringing all the ingredients together in the right way, how we can make the reasonable recipe. We cannot make a great recipe because of when you believe it's a 1-year project and you want to put that project to go live in 4 months. So definitely you cannot make a extraordinary dish, but you can make a reasonable dish. That's what I believe in. So yes, we did that, and it was super successful. And we know the struggle we may have some time, but we have a plan in place. We have interim solutions in place. So we were able to make that happen. So that's one of the example. The prior example, I would pick it up from my prior organization, where we had a $3 billion merger and acquisition that has happened. And we had just 4 months to go live, make the IT divestiture. So I was able to lead that successfully with all my lessons learned from my prior experiences, how we can get that done and end the TSA, which would again save millions of dollars per every year, multi-million dollars. So the firm which has acquired DHL has acquired Brooks Automation. So we were able to end the TSA within 90 days after the deal is closed. So DHL has acknowledged in their entire portfolio, this is the first time they had a TSA been ending within 90 days. So I got the recognition for that. And I'm so fortunate. I was sponsored to go to MIT for my executive leadership education. So I find very proud of that particular achievement in my whole career.
Mergers and acquisitions is not easy.
It's not easy.
It's a huge mess because you're bringing in different policy, different process, different people, different ideas into one company who have different, even more different processes. And so figuring out, do certain technologies integrate? Do we have to like drop certain things off and add new ones? This is obviously a really huge conversation and topic. So I'm not going to be like, let's talk about that, because we could talk about that forever and ever and ever. But kind of highlight, when it comes to M&As, what are the things some of the top things that you need to kind of know to look for and plan for so you can achieve, within 90 days kind of success. Talk about sort of the process of managing and executing a successful M&A.
It's all about understanding, right? What business we acquired versus what we are consolidating with. So definitely the bringing in synergies is not an easy task. It's quite an art, I would say. So you need the right playbook in place. That's where many organizations is struggling, not having the right playbook in place, understanding and not involving the right key stakeholders at the right time. As I always say, so we need to make sure, we need to understand from the beginning, before even the deal happens, before even the acquisition happens. We need to make sure the IT leadership to be there in place, so that we have a plan in place. We are bringing the playbook in place to execute it. So asking the right questions, involving the right key stakeholders, as I said, both the organizations end. That's where we can figure it out. What are the potential differentiations where the synergy gaps are there? It could be in the business processes. It could be in how it would impact the business continuity. All those factors we can consider, and we can figure it out, putting a roadmap in place, whether we need to go multi-phase approach or we can bring it in. It's not, see, I was saying there is an organization A, there is an organization B. They both may be doing in two different ways, though they may be in the same business or same industry. That doesn't mean that, they may have their emotional attachment to both of them. When we are combining, we see a lot of reluctance. It's all about how we are bringing the change management in place, organizational change management.
Yeah.
So all the time, organizations struggle to bring that effectively. It's not about just saying, we are bringing this XYZ into system, into ABC. It's all about whoever is impacting there to understand what impact they may have, what kind of support they would be getting, how we are navigating the journey. Giving that emotional security is very important. That's where we see a lot of gap. Every organization has their change management group in place, but is it happening in the right way? Then you should see the result. If it's not happening, then definitely there is a gap, right? That's where we need to understand. Need to make sure what value it's adding, how it would impact, and how we are helping them navigating through that hard phase of learning curve. And all those things, when we put together those in place, having the right communication being happening, the change has to happen from top to bottom and cascade. It cannot happen, in a different way, diversified way. It has to happen in the right way. So everybody has to align on the approach and understanding, conducting the right surveys where there is a lot of reluctance, how to come up with the right strategy in place, how we are addressing all the reluctance. So that's where it's easy to bring in. I'm doing this way. Doesn't mean you have to follow the same path. You may have a better way of doing. You may have a better tool. But unless you emphasize that and show that value, it's hard to buy in their consent. So that's where we struggle. I remember a good example when I was attending my MIT executive leadership program. That we were doing a session. So one of my peers from a different organization, I was a director at the time, and he's a multi-billion-dollar organization VP for the supply chain. We were doing this M&A case only over there. What is a failure case and a success case? I shared my success case with Brooks, and he shared his failure case contract to that. So they were saying they are quite an organization. Their business was completely different, but they have instructions from their upper management saying that you have to do this in 3 months. Yes, they were like, we acquired you. You have to listen to me, kind of an attitude. They just bring it. They were saying, It was a disaster. Yes, it can't be a disaster. No wonder. And then they struggled 1 year to fix that. So you can imagine. So when I shared my strategy and what approach we followed, he was telling to me, Geetha, your thought process is 3 times better than mine. I was like, okay, that's a good compliment.
But it's interesting that you said, the failure, get it done in 3 months. And because it failed, it ended up taking a whole year. If they had just taken the time to do it correctly, it might have only taken
That's
6
what I
months or
said.
7 months. You know what I mean? So it's that idea of, I will do it in the time it takes to make sure that I'm at like that level that I'm satisfied with. I won't do it. If I find that I can't do it in that time, then I'm not going to rush it and cut corners, like you said, because it's going to lead.
Yes.
So you almost have to present that, right, as a business case and go, I can do it in 3 months, but here are all the risks. And this is what will happen if it fails, and it might take a year. Are you willing to take that risk? And
Yes.
if you communicate that effectively, they'll be like, oh yeah, no, you're right. Okay, go back to, you can do your 6 to 7 month one. We trust you. One thing I wanted to say.
Cutting corners, just to close the loop on that, is it's okay to cut the corners, knowing the risk involved. You know your, risk appetite, and you have a thorough risk analysis and mitigation plan in place. You know what you're doing, right? So you know the effort involved, what you're compromising, what you're trading off, but not knowing you do cutting corners. That's where you see the disasters.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Exactly. Here are all of the options that we can take. Here are all the risks associated with each one. Which one do you still want to take, knowing all of that now? And you deal with the consequences regardless, because you know. The second thing I want to say is I love the use of the word playbook here, because like you said, dealing with a merger and acquisition is an art. So it's not a process that you just follow strictly. It's, you got to see what you're given and then look at what you have and then choose the thing that fits that best. Like a football playbook, they have a ton of plays because they need to know, they don't know which play will work until they see what the defense is giving them. So in that sense, it's not that you go in blind to a merger and acquisition. You get as much information as you can get and you figure out what you can do with that information. And you go from there. And it's, like I said, it's such a big conversation because we just talked about the whole finding out what the synergy gaps are. But then when you get to the part where it's time to actually implement, filling in the gap, that's where the huge change management happens, where it's like, because you have to make those compromises, right? And go, okay, so we're going to move to this platform, or we're going to somehow find a way to combine the platforms and then do it. And I love the emotional security part of this, because I think that is almost what change management is about. It's, can you allow them to accept the change that is going to happen? With that being said, the last and final question is, what are some of the most important lessons or things you've learned that you want to share with the audience? And you can repeat certain things. I definitely want you to say again the whole do the right thing at the right time, that thing. I want you to say that, but also any other thing that you've learned that kind of pushes you forward.
My success formula, as I said, to do the right thing in the right time at the right way. Right thing, right time, right way. That's it. So those are the 3 things. There is no R in it. It's a strict and in it. I would like to stress that. The combination goes. You cannot cut the corners in it strictly. Well, as I said, don't chase for the result. Don't chase for somebody says, I want to see myself as a VP or a CIO. Don't chase the titles. Chase your dream. Enjoy each and every piece you do. Doesn't matter what it is, whether you're cooking, whether you're playing with your kid, whether you're fighting with your husband, doesn't matter. I enjoy everything. Including that. I thoroughly enjoy it. And so just appreciate yourself every day and be appreciative of yourself. It's okay things to go wrong. Sometimes we may feel down. Sometimes it's okay. Appreciate that as well. Pamper a little kid within you every day. That's important. So otherwise, don't be self-pity. And it's, the worst thing, the biggest damage one can do to oneself is being self-pity and playing that victim card, which is the most terrible thing you could do to yourself, I would say. So you don't need to do that. You just have to accept yourself and, enjoy each and everything you do. And you need to enjoy your learning. That's important. The moment you start enjoying your learning, there is no end to the success. There is no limits, I would say. it's all about, there are some people say, oh, at this age, what I can learn, that's the biggest hurdle. Age doesn't matter. Until we our last breath, we should be willing to learn. That's the best thing we could do. Be a lifelong learner. And yes, chase your dreams, enjoy every bit of your work. Find an opportunity it's okay to ask dumb questions. Don't worry about somebody would be judging you. I really don't care how people judge me. I love myself. So I do what I feel like to be.
Yeah. This is so motivating. This is so motivating. You should do speeches. You probably do, but you should do talks. This is, and not even just for IT. I think just for like lifestyle and perspective. You have wisdom beyond life itself. So this is incredible for me. I'm definitely gushing. I'm excited to meet you. The fact that I get to know you in this life is awesome. Okay, everyone listening to the podcast is going to be like, all right, Jetha, you gotta chill a little bit. But I just wanted to say, Geetha, thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy. And so the fact that you made time for this is incredible and well worth it, I would say, at the end of it. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your expertise. Thank you for your thoughts. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad I'm able to share, and I'm great to hear from you all the good words. I'm glad that it's adding some value here.
Yeah. Well, thanks again and take care.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this Keeping IT Real episode, and thank you for listening. Make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a future episode. This podcast is all about celebrating and connecting professional heroes who work hard at IT every day. To continue the conversation and learn how VCOM can help you better buy, manage, and pay for your technology, visit us at vcomsolutions.com. Until next time.